In time sharing or multiple tasking systems, a single CPU executes multiple jobs by switching among them, but the switches occur so frequently that the users can interact with each program while it is running. The user feels that all the programs are being executed at the same time. Time sharing requires a interactive or hands-on computer system which provides a direct communication between the user and the system. The user gives instruction to the operating system or to a program directly using a input device such as a keyboard or a mouse, and waits for immediate results on an output device. Accordingly, the response time should be short, typically less than 1 second. Time shared operating system allows many users to share the computer simultaneously as the system switches rapidly from one user to the next. Each user is given the impression that the entire computer system is dedicated to his use only, even though it is being shared among many users. A multiprocessor system is a computer system having two or more CPUs within a single computer system, each sharing main memory and peripherals. Multiple programs are executed by multiple processors parallel. See the figure. Distributed systems. In individual systems that are connected and share the resources available in the network is called distributed system. Access to a shared resource increases computation speed, functionality, and data availability and reliability. A network is a communication path between two or more systems. Distributed systems depend on networking for their functionality. Networks vary by the protocol used, the distances between nodes, and the transport media. TCP or IP is the most common network protocol. Most operating systems support TCP or IP. Networks are characterized based on the distances between their nodes. A local area network LAN connects computers within a room, a floor, or a building. A wide area network WAN usually links buildings, cities, or countries. A global company may have a WAN to connect its offices worldwide. A metropolitan area network MAN links buildings within a city. A small area network connects systems within several feet using wireless technology, example Bluetooth and 802.11. A network operating system is an operating system that provides features such as file sharing across the network, and that allows different processes on different computers to exchange messages. A computer running a network operating system acts autonomously from all other computers on the network, although it is aware of the network and is able to communicate with the other networked computers. Now let us explain the dual mode operation in operating system with a neat block diagram. Operating system operations. A modern operating system can interrupt driven if there are no processes to execute, no input output devices to the service, and no users to whom to respond. An operating system will sit quietly waiting for something to happen. Events are signaled by the occurrence of an interrupt or a trap. A trap is a software generated interrupt. For each type of interrupt, separate segments of code in the operating system determine what action should be taken. An interrupt service routine is provided that is responsible for dealing with the interrupt. Dual mode operation. Since the operating system and the user programs share the hardware and software resources of the computer system, it has to be made sure that an error in a user program cannot cause a problem to the other programs and the operating system running in the system. The approach taken is to use a hardware support that allows us to differentiate among various modes of execution. The system can be assumed to work in two separate modes of operation: user mode, kernel mode, supervisor mode, system mode, or privileged mode. A hardware bit of the computer called mode bit is used to indicate the current mode, kernel 0 or user 1. With the mode bit, we are able to distinguish between a task that is executed by the operating system and one that is executed by the user. When the computer system is executing a user application, the system is in user mode. When a user application requests a service from the operating system via a system call, the transition from user to kernel mode takes place. At the system boot time, the hardware starts in kernel mode. The operating system is then loaded and starts user applications in user mode. Whenever a trap or interrupt occurs, the hardware switches from user mode to the kernel mode. That is, changes the mode bit from 1 to 0. Thus, whenever the operating system gains control of the computer, it is in kernel mode. The dual mode of the operation provides us with the means for protecting the operating system from errant users and errant users from one another. The hardware allows privileged instructions to be executed only in kernel mode. If an attempt is made to execute a privileged instruction in user mode, the hardware does not execute the instruction but rather treats it as illegal and traps it into the operating system. The instruction to switch to user mode is an example of privileged instruction. Initial control is within the operating system where instructions are executed in kernel mode. When control is given to a user application, the mode is set to user mode. Eventually, control is switched back to the operating system via an interrupt, a trap, or a system call. Now, let us see process management. A program under execution is a process. A process needs resources like CPU, time, memory, files, and output devices for its execution. These resources are given to the process when it is created or at run time. When the process terminates, the operating system reclaims the resources. The program stored on a disk is passive entity, and the program under execution is an active entity. A single threaded process has one program counter specifying the next instruction to execute. The CPU executes one instruction of the process after another until the process completes. A multi-threaded process has multiple programs counters, each pointing to the next instruction to execute for a given thread. The operating system is responsible for the following activities in connection with process management: scheduling process and threads on the CPU, creating and deleting both the user and system processors, suspending and resuming processes, providing mechanisms for process synchronization, providing mechanisms for process communication. Now let us see memory management. Main memory is a large array of words or bytes. Each word or byte has its own address. Main memory is the storage device which can be easily and directly accessed by the CPU as the program executes. The central processor reads instructions and also reads and writes data from main memory. To improve both the utilization of the CPU and the speed of computer's response to its users, general purpose computers must keep several programs in memory, creating a need for memory management. The operating system is responsible for the following activities in connection with memory management: keeping track of which parts of the memory are currently being used by the user, deciding which processors and data to move into and out of memory, allocating and deallocating memory space as needed. Now let us see storage management. There are three types of storage management: file system management, mass storage management, cache management. File system management. File management is one of the most visible components of an operating system. Computers can store information on several different types of physical media. Magnetic disk, optical disk, and magnetic tape are the most common. Each of these media has its own characteristic and physical organization. Each medium is controlled by a device, such a disk drive or the tape drive, that also has its own unique characteristics. A file is a collection of related information defined by its creator. Commonly, a file represents programs and data. Data files may be numeric, alphabetic, alphanumeric, or binary. Files may be free form, for example text files, or they may be formatted rigidly, for example fixed fields. The operating system implements the abstract concept of the file by managing mass storage media. Files are normally organized into directories to make them easier to use. When multiple users have access to files, it may be desirable to control by whom and in what ways read, write, execute file may be accessed. The operating system is responsible for the activities in connection with file management: creating and deleting files, creating and deleting directories to organize files, supporting primitives for manipulating files and directories, mapping files onto secondary storage, backup files on stable non-volatile storage media. Now let us see mass storage management. As the main memory is too small to accommodate all data and programs, and as the data that it holds are erased when power is lost, the computer system must provide secondary storage to backup main memory. Most modern computer systems use disk as the storage medium for both programs and data. Most programs, including compilers, assemblers, and word processors, editors, and formatters, are stored on a disk until loaded into memory, and then use the disk as both the source and destination of their processing. Hence, the proper management of the disk storage is of central importance to a computer system. The operating system is responsible for the following activities in connection with disk management: free space management, storage allocation, disk scheduling. As the secondary storage is used frequently, it must be used efficiently. The entire speed of the operation of the computer may depend on the speeds of the disk. Magnetic tape drives and their tapes, CD, DVD drives, and platters are tertiary storage devices. The functions that operating system provides include mounting and unmounting media in devices, allocating and freeing the devices for exclusive use by processors, and migrating data from secondary to tertiary storage. Now let us see caching. Caching is an important principle of computer system. Information is normally kept in some storage system such as main memory. All as it is used, it is copied into a faster storage system, the cache, a temporary data. When a particular piece of information is required, first we check whether it is in cache. If it is, we use the information directly from the cache. If it is not in cache, we use the information from the source, putting a copy into the cache under the assumptions that we will need it again soon. Because the cache has limited size, cache management is an important design problem. Careful selection of the cache size and page replacement policy can result in greatly increased performance. The movement of the information between levels of the storage hierarchy may be either explicit or implicit depending on the hardware design and controlling operating system software. For instance, data transfer from cache to CPU and registers is usually a hardware function with no operating system invention. In contrast, transfer of the data from disk memory is usually controlled by the operating system. In a hierarchy storage structure, the same data may appear in different levels of storage system. For example, suppose to retrieve an integer a from magnetic disk to the processing program, the operation proceeds by first issuing an input-output operation to copy the disk block on which a resides to main memory. This operation is followed by copying a to the cache and to an internal register. Thus, the copy of a appears in several places on the magnetic disk, in main memory, in cache, and in an internal register. See the figure. In a multiprocessor environment, in addition to maintaining internal registers, each of the CPUs also contains a local cache. In such an environment, a copy of A may exist simultaneously in several caches. Since the various CPUs can all execute concurrently, any update done to the value of in one cache is immediately reflected in all other cache where A resides. This situation is called cache coherency, and it is usually a hardware problem handled below the operating system level. Input output systems. So one of the purposes of operating system is to hide the peculiarities of specific hardware devices from the user. The input output subsystem consists of several components: a memory management component that includes buffering, caching, and spooling, a general device driver interface, drivers for the specific hardware devices. Only the device driver knows the peculiarities of the specific device to which it is assigned. Protection and security. If a computer system has multiple users and allows the concurrent execution of multiple processes, then access to that must be regulated. For that purpose, mechanisms ensure that files, memory segments, CPU, and other resources can be operated on by only those processes that have gained proper authorization from the operating system. In a computer system, if a computer system has multiple users and allows the concurrent execution execution of multiple processes, then access to the data must be regulated. For that purpose, there are mechanisms which ensure that files, memory segments, CPU, and other resources can be operated by only operated on by only those processes that have gained proper authorization from the operating system. For example, memory addressing hardware ensures that a process can execute only within its own address space. The timer ensures that no process can gain control of the CPU for a long time. Device control registers are not accessible to users, so the integrity of the various peripheral devices is protected. Now let us see protection is a mechanism for controlling the access of processors or users to the resources defined by the computer system. This mechanism must provide means for the specification of the controls to be imposed and means for enforcement. Protection improves reliability. A protection-oriented system provides a means to distinguish between authorized and unauthorized usage. A system can have adequate protection but still be prone to failure and allow inappropriate access. Consider a user whose authentication information is stolen. Her data could be copied or deleted even though file and memory protection are working. It is a job of security to defend a system from external and internal attacks. So attacks spread across a huge range and include viruses and worms, denial of service attacks, etc. Protection and security require the system to be able to distinguish among all its users. Most operating system maintains a list of usernames and associated user identifiers, user IDs. When a user logs into the system, the authentication stage determines the appropriate user ID for the user. Distributed systems. A distributed system is a collection of systems that are networked to provide the users with access to the various resources in the network. Access to shared resource increases computation speed, functionality, data availability, and reliability. A network is a communication path between two or more systems. Networks vary by the protocols used: TCP or IP, UDP, FTP, etc. The distances between nodes and the transport media: copper wires, fiber optic, wireless. TCP or IP is the most common network the distances between nodes and the transport media: copper wires, fiber optic, wireless. TCP or IP is the most common network protocol. The operating system support of protocols also varies. Most operating systems support TCP or IP, including the Windows and the Unix operating systems. Networks are characterized based on the distances between their nodes. A local area network connects computers within a room or a floor or a building. A wide area network WAN usually links buildings, cities, and countries. A global company may have a WAN to connect its offices worldwide. These networks may run one protocol or several protocols. A metropolitan area network connects buildings within a city. Bluetooth and 802.11 devices use wireless technology to communicate over a distance of several feet. In essence, creating a small area network such as might be found in a home. The transportation media to carry networks are also varied. They include copper wires, fiber strands, and wireless transmissions between satellites, microwave dishes, and radios. When computing devices are connected to cellular phones, they create a network. Now let us see multimedia systems. Multimedia data consists of audio and video files as well as conventional files. These data differ from conventional data in that multimedia data such as frames of video must be delivered streamed according to the certain time restrictions. For example, 30 frames per second. Multimedia describes a wide range of applications like audio files, MP3, DVD, movies, video conferencing, and short video clips of movie previews or news. Multimedia applications may also include live webcasts of speeches or sporting events, and even live webcams. Multimedia applications can be either audio or video or combination of both. For example, a movie may consist of separate audio and video tracks. Handheld systems. Handheld systems include personal digital assistants such as palm and pocket PCs and cellular telephones. Developers of these systems face many challenges due to the limited memory, slow processors, and small screen in such devices. The amount of physical memory is handled depend upon the device. The operating system and applications must manage memory efficiently. This includes returning all allocated memory back to memory manager when the memory is not being used. A second issue of concern to developers of handheld devices is the speed of the processor used in the devices. Processors for most handheld devices run at faster speed than the processor in a PC. Faster processors require more power, and so a large battery is required. Another issue is the usage of input output devices. Generally, the limitations in the functionality of PDAs are balanced by their convenience and portability. Their use continues to expand, and network connections become more available, and other options such as digital cameras and MP3 players expand their utility. Computing environments. The computing environments are traditional computing. The current trend is toward providing more ways to access these computing environments. Web technologies are stretching the boundaries of traditional computing. Companies establish portals which provide web accessibility to their internal servers. Network computers are essential terminals that understand web-based computing. Handheld computers can synchronize with PCs to allow very portable use of the company information. Handheld PDAs can also connect to wireless networks to use the company's web portal. The fast data connections are allowing home computers to serve up web pages and to use network. Some homes even have firewalls to protect their networks. In the latter half of the previous century, computing resources were scarce. Years before, systems were either batch or interactive. Batch system processed job in bulk with predefined input from files or other resources of data. Interactive systems waited for input from users to optimize the use of the computing resources. Multiple users shared time on these systems. Time sharing systems used a timer and scheduling algorithm to rapidly cycle processes through the CPU, giving each user a share of the resources. Today, traditional time sharing systems are used everywhere. The same scheduling technique is still in use on workstations and servers, but frequently the processes are all owned by the same user or a single user and operating system. User process and system processes that provide services to the user are managed so that each frequently gets a slice of computer time. Client server computing. Designers shifted away from centralized system architecture to terminals connected to centralized systems. As a result, many of today's systems act as server systems to satisfy requests generated by client systems. This form of specialized distributed system called client server system. Server systems can be broadly categorized as compute servers and file servers. The compute server system provides an interface to which a client can send a request to perform an action, for example, read data. In response, the server executes the action and sends back results to the client. As a server running a database that responds to the client request for data is an example of such a system. The file server system provides a file system interface where clients can create, update, read, and delete files. An example of such system is web server that delivers a file to clients running the web browsers. Now let us see peer-to-peer computing. In this model, Clients and servers are not distinguished from one another. Here, all the nodes within the system are considered peers, and each may act as either a client or server depending on whether it is requesting or providing a service. In a client server system, the server is a bottleneck because all the servers must be served by the server, but in a peer to peer system, services can be provided by several nodes distributed throughout the network. To participate in a peer-to-peer system, a node must first join this network of peers. Once a node has joined the network, it can begin providing services to and requesting services from other nodes in the network. Determining that services are available is accomplished in one of the two general ways. When a node joins a network, it registers its services with a centralized lookup service on the network. Any node desiring a specific service first contacts this centralized lookup service. To determine which node provides the service, the remainder of the communication takes place between the client and the service provider. A peer acting a client must know which node provides a desired service by broadcasting a request for the service to all other nodes in the network. The node or nodes providing that service responds to the peer making the request. To support this approach, a discovery protocol must be provided that allows a peer to discover services provided by other peers in the network. Web-based computing. Web computing has increased the importance on networking devices that were not previously networked. Now include wired or wireless access devices that were networked now has a faster network connectivity. The implementation of web-based computing has given rise to new categories of devices such as load balancers, which distribute network connections among a pool of the similar servers. Operating systems like Windows 95, which acted as a web client, have evolved into Linux and Windows XP, which can act as a web server as well as client. Generally, the web has increased the complexity of devices because their users require them to be web enabled. The design of an operating system is a major task. It is important that the goals of new system be well defined before the design of OS begins. These goals form the basis for choices among various algorithms and strategies.